What do you think China's master plan is in this region?
Domination. Domination of the region.
General Sitiveni Rambuka knows a thing or two about domination.
It is in the national interest.
He led 2 military coups in Fiji and later served as the country's Prime Minister for 7 years. But now, as opposition leader, the one-time strongman fears how weakened Fiji has become because of the Chinese.
Are you comfortable with the level of involvement China has in Fiji's affairs?
No, I am not. If they become so powerful and we become impotent as far as debt repayment is concerned, there is a fear that they will take over some of the public facilities we have, our ports and airports. It's happening around the world.
Is that a deal that in the long term is going to really turn nasty for this country?
Not only for this country, but for the region. Because we're going to be selling our souls. We will have to sell our souls for the comforts of today.
General Rambuka doesn't have to take me far to show what he means. The skyline of Fiji's capital, Suva, is rapidly changing, and it's all because of one building, this monstrously out of proportion Chinese development. At 28 stories, it's more than twice the size of the next tallest tower in the South Pacific.
So the Chinese pump money into projects like this. Are these the kind of projects that you actually need?
No, not at this time. We need projects, but there is no need to go for a very high-rise, multiple-story building every time.
Critics of China say the real proof they're not here to help the local economy is that they bring in their own construction workers to build these projects and employ very few locals.
Hello, I'm Tom from 60 Minutes Australia.
On this site in Suva, it's pretty much 100% Chinese labour, despite a crying need for local construction jobs in Fiji.
When the cameras came out, they're gone.
I wanted to ask the men here why they didn't employ any Fijians, but no one was allowed to speak.
Do you think the Chinese are worried about helping the locals here get jobs?
No, they're bringing in their own labourers, their own workforce to work on projects that they directly benefit from, but really gives nothing back to the society or the people.
Dr. Malcolm Davis from the Australian Strategic Policy Institute believes the Chinification of Fiji could easily have been avoided.
Australia moans a lot about China's growing influence in the South Pacific and us losing out as a result of it, but how much have we been the masters of our own demise?
Look, I do think we have taken them for granted to a degree.
Has Australia dropped the ball?
I think in terms of aid and investment into the South Pacific, absolutely we have.
I think, Australia probably needs to re-look at the way they look at the Pacific.
Fiji's Attorney General Syed Kayum agrees with Malcolm Davis. He says Australia turned its back on Fiji after its 2006 coup, which was all the invitation China needed to fill the vacuum.
So Australia played it wrong. They left an opening for China.
They played it wrong. They left an opportunity for anybody to come in.
And China did.
China did, in respects, yes. And then, of course, one cannot complain about that now. We are a country, we need to develop, we need to continue with living, we need to continue to grow.
Over in Vanuatu, Foreign Minister Ralph Ranjanvanu says it's been an identical situation. But having been caught out, he says Australia's now trying to play catch-up.
I mean, it's a great thing for you guys, isn't it? You've got two countries effectively fighting for your love.
Yeah, it's almost like two boys fighting for a girl.
Do you see China growing and think maybe we want to hitch our wagon to them?
Well, we are hitching our wagon to China, definitely. We've got our hitches on a number of wagons. And I think for Vanuatu, that's the best approach. We're trying to get the most out of our relations with the maximum number of countries.
Is that China's goal, to be the top dog?
Absolutely, yeah. There's no doubt that China is going to become the most powerful country in the world.
Chinese-born, Canberra-based security expert Adam Nee is another who warns that China's money comes with onerous conditions.
Money's pouring into the Pacific from China. Are there strings attached?
Absolutely, yeah. The way that China delivers aid and does business is different from the way that we're used to. What we will see to be bribery in the Chinese case seems to be okay, and so that creates a number of issues for these countries where China is just trying to get the job done, perhaps through ways that we wouldn't consider to be appropriate in Australia.
Getting the Chinese view on all of this proved impossible in Vanuatu.
Tom Steinford is my name. I'm from 60 Minutes Australia. I wanted to request an interview with the ambassador. Who do I
Our many interview requests made with the Chinese embassy went unanswered. But Ralph Ranjanvanu was happy to explain the price China charges for its loans and grants. They demand Vanuatu votes with them on critical issues at the United Nations.
What, so you think if they can pump money in here, they'll get support at the UN?
Yes, because you have to remember...
I'm sorry, that's bribery.
Maybe. That's diplomacy. Australia gives a lot of money and expects us to vote for them in certain things, and we do. I mean, this is the give and take of international diplomacy.
China's response to the critics of its Pacific policy is to cry foul. It accuses them of racism, pure and simple. But Malcolm Davis says that's not fair.
At times, is there an element of racism or xenophobia to this discussion?
No.
Do you think the Chinese try and portray it that way?
Yes, but they shouldn't. We have a legitimate concern about our national security here. And I think to try and suggest that we're being racist is absolutely wrong.
Why is that?
Because our foreign and defence policy is made here. It's not made in Beijing. We look at how China is rising in the region. We look at their actions in the South China Sea. We look at the steady growth of their military capabilities, and we look at their growth of expanding influence and presence across the Indian Ocean and now in the South Pacific. And these present legitimate concerns to us. So it's not about racism or xenophobia. It's about defence policy, and that's what we're concerned about.
Diplomacy is a difficult game in the Pacific right now. Australia used to be the main player here, but we've been scoring own goals of late. For now, the warships welcomed by the island nations of the Pacific continue to be ours. But if we keep on getting it wrong, it may well be China's navy taking safe harbour in these waters.
Since 1942, we have not had to worry about any sort of military threat against our east coast. And the potential exists that if we don't get our relationship right with the region, and if we don't counterbalance China, then we could be forced into a situation whereby we end up in a more major power conflict. And I think we need to take that prospect seriously. The prospect of major power conflict is once again on the agenda.
Hello, I'm Tara Brown. Thanks for watching. To keep up with the latest from 60 Minutes Australia, make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can also download the 9Now app for full episodes and other exclusive 60 Minutes content.